we already have a decision made in our mind. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm going to do. And you try to get God to co-sign on it.
This is a very close thing, and you just go silent on me?
And it leaves them stuck, hurt. And I hate that.
What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? I jump immediately to, hey, it's on them. I'm glad they left. Toxic or just tense? And how do you know the difference? That's what we're going to talk about today on Marriage with Jim and Teresa. I'm your host, Jim. Joining me in studio is my co-host and my wife of the last 40 years, the mother of our 4 children, Teresa, the therapist. What's up, Teresa?
Hi, Jim.
Also joining us
everyone.
in studio.
My name is Ellie. I'm the youngest daughter.
Wow.
Somebody invaded our space, Jim.
Exactly.
I don't think that's how I would position it. I am gracing the place. No, I'm just...
So Elizabeth's been instrumental in getting this whole show kicked off. She's been behind the camera for most of the time, and she brings an interesting perspective with her demographic, her age group. So we thought we'd bring her out here in front and see, and you guys will ultimately tell us, is this helping or hurting? Hey,
do you want me to stay or not?
She's on a temporary work contract here, so nothing.
I won't be offended.
Yeah, exactly.
We have hard conversations in this family.
Exactly. So, toxic or tense, or Teresa, you mentioned earlier in kind of some of the prep work is that you want to substitute the word difficult for tense.
Yes, toxic or difficult.
Why do you want to do that? What's the difference between something being, well, what you said, Dad, earlier?
Yeah. So the whole idea, tense, I don't like that idea of tense. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship that's tense. I mean, I don't want to come home with a lot of tension,
right?
All the time. Now, difficult, hey, news alert, being married is difficult. Doesn't make it bad. Doesn't make it bad. It's just difficult. You've put 2 sinful people together in close proximity. Selfish people, I might add. Mm-hmm. Hey, Jim, not me. I'm selfless. Yeah, sure you are.
Selfish.
Exactly.
Everybody.
So, toxic or difficult. So here's the difference. There's nothing wrong with your relationship being difficult from time to time. It shouldn't be difficult all the time. Yeah. But now toxic, where there's physical, emotional, verbal abuse, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah. I also think that like toxic and tense both denote like a long-term state, like something that is ongoing.
Or a repeated pattern.
Mm-hmm. Whereas difficult is just like something that's happening right now. It's temporary.
Now,
okay, so
Ellie,
go ahead.
You've mentioned things like today, and I don't know if we want to separate it into age groups or not, but you've mentioned that some people think the relationship should be perfect, and so when things aren't perfect, they start panicking.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, some people think, oh, I know this is going to be hard, because, hey, I've heard people say that, but then they don't distinguish the difference between it being hard, like it is from time to time, and it being
toxic. Yeah. I think some people think that the phrase goes, if they're not cheating or beating, then the relationship is fine.
I've actually never heard.
I've heard that very recently.
Never heard that phrase in my life.
Okay. Well, we're in a different.
Because you heard the phrase one time doesn't make it a phrase.
I mean, it's pretty catchy.
Is it?
It's pretty catchy. I think that's probably something that sounds like something like a grandmother or a great grandmother would have told a daughter or great granddaughter.
Yeah, you know what that is?
It's a saying. It sounds like a Southern saying.
It sounds like a stupid saying.
If he's not cheating or beating, so I won't say he, because hey, this can be men or women. But if they're not cheating or beating, then it's not toxic. That's like what I think sometimes. At least back in the day, my understanding is that was kind of the mentality where, oh, he's a good man or she's a good woman because they're not doing X, Y, and Z.
Right. Yeah,
whereas
but
today,
I agree.
You agree that you've heard that?
I agree. I haven't.
She agrees with the sentiment.
Right. The sentiment is that you stay there, you endure whatever if they're not beating you or whatever. You endure because there's going to be difficulty. And years ago, women couldn't leave because men probably had, were able to take care of them financially better. So they didn't leave. However, a lot of those relationships were toxic.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I also think today, to go on the other side of that, it's like if someone has, what is it? It's kind of this idea that, because I've been seeing this a lot on social media lately, how people feel like you're dumping if you're sharing something difficult that you're going through or you're experiencing a difficult time in your life and you want to share that with your friends, they feel like you're almost like trauma dumping on them just because you need someone to talk to. And at the very crux of this, we have to understand that relationships require sacrifice, relationships require compromise, and relationships also require inconvenience. Like you're not going to be it's not going to be your way or the highway the entire relationship.
And,
right?
and I would question that friendship because I expect a friend to come to me. I want a friend to come to me and to express, what's going on in their world because I care for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But the point I'm kind of getting at is that we've done so much work and everybody's been in therapy and everybody's been focused on.
Everybody been in therapy?
There've been quite a bit of that's the thing now. That's the thing more so now than it ever has been.
Yeah, it's more prevalent than it was.
That.
But I'm generalizing for sure. But it's like everybody's doing self-care. Everybody's focused on, well, what's going to bring me peace and what's going to make my life better and this and that. And so you think that any tiny inconvenience means that the relationship is toxic. And that's just not the case.
It's not the case because, like you say, relationships, it's a sacrifice, and we've got to look at it as that.
Well, why don't we make sure that that distinction is clear? Hey, I was listening to a podcast, and they said if things get hard, you should leave, which is not what we're saying.
No, absolutely not. Just because we are human, things are going to be difficult.
Yeah, and because you're two people with two different backgrounds.
Yes, it's going to be difficult.
Even if you have because you all say this to me often, like even if you have the most similar, compatible background ever, marriage is still going to be hard. You still have things that you're not going to know about each other. I feel like y'all still learn new things about
all
each
the
other.
time.
And you all are both growing and changing because that's...
Wait. Do you feel like you're learning new things about me still?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't feel like you're learning new things about Mom?
I don't feel like I do realize in our 44 years together that we both changed.
Yes.
But, and this is a whole different show, but I was so careful, so intentional in the dating process, in the selection process, that no, I don't feel like in 44 years, and I want to distinguish learning something different versus learning something unpleasant or learning something that I don't like or surprised by. No, I'm not sure in 40 years. Now, the 4 years of dating, that was part of what was going on. But in 40 years, I don't know a single time I've woken and gone like, oh my gosh. Well, I just thought of something. But this is
news to us.
What I guess I have learned that I didn't realize is just how big the differences are, not so much in Teresa and I, but in men and women. Because when we got married, one of the things that used to frustrate me the most about you is that you didn't think and see things like I saw them.
Which that makes no sense that you would expect that.
It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Not, and I think I've already said that once, that I'm not you. I can't be you. I'm not designed to be you.
So maybe that was a big discovery, but no, I'm going to think on this as we continue on. I can't think of things I've learned about you that are new or different, and I certainly can't think of anything I've learned that I dislike.
I think what you're saying is you haven't learned anything new or different or unpleasant about the core of who Mom is. And that's really what you were looking at in dating, right? It's like, who is it? Because Mom always talks about...
Because you didn't know. I was so so excited about the birds. That's a new thing that you didn't know about me.
Yeah,
little stuff like that's not
and what she's talking about. So
not important, but it is.
Let me just explain. So this Christmas, I knew Teresa is a really big nature lover. So what I got her for Christmas is a bird feeder with a camera, which I knew she would love it as a gift. I didn't know, and you don't like when I use these words, right? I didn't know you would obsess over the gift. And I didn't know you'd stick the phone in my face 3 times a day to tell me to look at a bird. Yeah.
So pretty.
I didn't know that, but I mean, I don't. That's not what I'm considering a really
new
big
thing.
alarm.
Okay, all right. So we could go a little deeper, I guess, with that.
Yes. So kind of bringing us back to the topic for today, we are going to go through the difference between when something is toxic versus difficult. We're going to give you some warning signs that you can look for to know if your relationship is toxic or difficult. And then if you are in a toxic situation, we are going to give you some resources to be able to move away from that.
Hey,
Yes.
Before we do that, let's start with this. How did you if you are in a toxic relationship, how did you get sucked into that? Was it so subtle that you didn't know? Was it
Usually
how did you end up in a toxic relationship to start with?
Usually you have a mindset of that's going to change. That particular behavior is going to change. And it continues.
Does that make sense?
Well, whether it makes sense or not, it is what it is.
Oh, by the way.
And then people desire to be in relationships, so they do put up with things.
When we're having these conversations, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments about, hey, Jim, this is why it happens, or here's what I've seen. So we want you to be a part of the show. So share with us. I mean, ask questions, drop in comments. So you kind of get sucked into it. Okay, I hear that part. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, which this makes no sense to me. I hear what you're saying. So you see some things that are red flags. We've talked about that before. Yeah. You see some things that are red flags, but you think it's going to change. And I guess this is the part that I really can't identify with. That, hey, I want to be loved and I want to be a part as much as anybody. But the whole idea that I want that so badly.
Mm-hmm. Badly. You're right. It is. It is.
The fact that I want that so badly that I put up with stuff, and nobody wanted to be married more than I wanted to be married. But as we're dating, I just didn't have the mindset, Jim, remember how bad you want to be married? Go ahead and let that go. I mean,
can I offer a different perspective?
Yes, let's hear it.
How I feel like people get sucked into toxic relationships. So the audience doesn't know, or some of y'all probably do, but most of the audience doesn't know that, like, I have been married and I am divorced now, and I wouldn't consider I kind of might. Was my relationship toxic? It was difficult.
I don't think,
but it was difficult because I ignored a lot of red flags. But I want to offer this perspective because I think I understand how people can get sucked into this.
Okay.
The things that y'all called out as red flags, I didn't realize were red flags.
No, let's explain.
What does it? Give me an example.
The reason I didn't think of them as red flags is because I go back to the statement I said earlier, which is like, I thought if this person wasn't like lying, they're not cheating, they're not being violent, they're kind and they're patient and they're all these things. I thought if they weren't those very like horrible, evil things, then that wasn't a red flag. Right. And so I think the understanding of what a red flag is also, that's, something that I don't think people really understand. A red flag is, I was going to say,
let's explain in your case what we meant by red flag. Okay. This is what we're not saying. We're not talking about red flags as in there's something wrong with this person.
Yeah.
We're talking about red flags in terms of what we shared with Ellie is that we feel like we know you pretty well. We feel like we know who you should partner with, what kind of person you should partner with, what that should look like. And so we didn't see that in the partner that you chose. That's what we mean by red flags. Doesn't mean the person was a bad person. Doesn't mean the relationship, so I answer your question. No, I don't think the relationship was toxic. I just think you ignored some things that said to us, this isn't going to work because you need this given your personality. Yeah. You're marrying that.
I specifically said that. Absolutely. So you needed something else.
The word here, which this is a lesson I've been learning. I've been divorced for 2 years and I've been learning a lot of lessons. Living back home with my parents has taught me a lot of different things as well. I think there is a huge difference between chemistry and compatibility. So whereas I felt like we had great chemistry, which is why, again, the things that you're saying, so it was two things, right? I felt like we had great chemistry, and then I also felt like red flags meant the person had to be a bad person. So those two things, is what caused me to dismiss a lot and not understand what you all were saying. You all were saying, hey, this person isn't compatible with who we know you to be, with what we know that you need, given the life that, I mean, hello, we all live together, like you raised me. So given the life that you all gave me and the you know, I feel like we're still very close, but I felt like even growing up, we were very close. You all understood certain things that I would need and that would be compatible. Yeah. So I get that. But at the time, I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all.
Okay. So what?
And you go back. Going back to what you said about how could a person be in this type of toxic relationship?
Yeah.
A person can. It's a subtleness about this particular person that the behavior repeats itself. This person might act a little interested in you doing something or going somewhere or looking through your phone or whatever, you know, and it comes off as I care about you, but then it becomes a bit of repeated behavior, which then it becomes controlling aspects. So that's why it's a little subtleness to this.
So you're saying initially, I'm like asking you questions like, hey, Teresa, what time are you going to be back?
Yeah.
And you don't see anything wrong with that. And in a lot of instances, is there anything wrong with that?
And you're right, there's nothing wrong with that.
But depending on
the intention,
right? Hey, let me see your phone. Well, I asked for your phone. You asked for my phone, but I'm not looking for stuff.
Right? Not a problem.
I'm not going through it. I'm either looking for something very specific that whatever. So you're saying it's so subtle that the person doesn't recognize it as potentially, or are we saying potentially toxic behavior, or it's already toxic?
Potentially, yeah.
Well, it seems like we're asking a lot, Jim. I mean, okay, potentially toxic, not toxic. You're asking a lot. So
I think the key word here, and so we're going to do the best we can to give you like signs to look for and help explain the difference. But I think the biggest thing that we all need to learn to practice when we're dating, engaged, married even, is discernment. Like that's what it comes down to when it's all said and done. I know we're not talking about this necessarily. I don't know if we talk about, well, I don't think we're talking about narcissistic behavior today, but I would remember listening to a podcast by like a narcissist expert, and one thing that she said...
Can you be a narcissist expert without being a narcissist?
Yes,
well, go ahead.
I think you can, Ben.
Go on.
Well, it's on your favorite podcast, The School of Greatness, is where she was interviewed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now there's more credibility because it was on that podcast.
Go ahead. Keep going. That's not my favorite podcast. This would be my favorite podcast, but keep going.
Fair. Yes.
Keep going.
One thing that she said, though, she brought up discernment. She was like, there's really no way to tell because, and this is another thing I hear a lot online, is people are very good at pretending to be something that they're not. So the only way to really, you just have to allow for time, or you have to have discernment. And the only way to practice discernment is to have patience and allow for time to pass.
So that's why I encourage people to date. If they're in really want a long-term relationship, they need to see the person in different situations.
Yes.
See how they respond to other people and all of that,
Let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was pretty much it. But we have not specifically defined what difficult looked like.
Well, before
and
we
then
do that,
what a toxic looks like.
We want to make sure we do that. But let me back up with Elizabeth. Discernment. Okay, so one of my most earnest prayers, in addition to Lord, send me a wife, and actually before I started praying, Lord, send me a wife, I was praying this first because I was reading one day and it was like, if you want wisdom, just ask, and the Lord gives liberally. I was like, wait, what? All I got to do is ask? Who doesn't want wisdom? So I started praying that. It was part of my regular devotion time. So the point I'm making is, hey, Jim, how do I get this discernment? Hey, I think discernment's one of the spiritual, I think it is a spiritual gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's something you can pray for, Lord, show me. And this gets to the point of praying with your mind already made up, which is what a lot of us do. We already have a decision made in our mind. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm going to do. And you try to get God to co-sign on it. So when we talk about discernment, I don't want to make it seem like this is something unobtainable. I mean, it's something that you can be, okay, how do we get that? Praying God's gift, God's word, and godly friends saying to us, hey, Teresa, hey, Ellie, here's something you might want to, here's something I'm seeing. Just want to point this out to you, but go ahead.
Right. Well, no, I just wanted us to make sure we define what difficult looks like.
Yeah.
So difficult looks like disagreements, intense moments, but those things usually just pass, right? Those things happen in relationships.
Necessarily that can become toxic, but having a disagreement and a tense moment is not in and of itself toxic. Keep
right. Yeah. So you're also like a couple just argues and then they cool off and then they bring themselves back into a place of comfort and safety. So do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Are we going to go through okay first and then come back and circle around? Because I thought about the other side of that.
Okay.
So people argue, then they cool off. That's normal.
That's normal.
But
and then they might apologize.
Okay.
So they're bringing the relationship back together. They're they're reconnecting, and that's difficult, but that's a normal response.
Then is this toxic? We argue, but the arguing is elevated to really high levels where there is certainly verbal abuse, possibly emotional abuse, and maybe I'm not even going to go to the part of physical abuse yet, and one person, and I've worked with men, particularly who said this, one person never apologizes, or the apology is, and we could do a whole thing on the art of how to apologize, because hey, if your feelings were hurt about this, I'm sorry. That's not a real apology.
That's a horrible apology.
That's not a real apology.
Right.
I'm sorry if it made you feel blah blah blah. So
it's almost like you're not taking responsibility. Right. You're not taking responsibility, and you leave that situation in a stressful position, and it's like one of you, usually the person, is walking on eggshells. They're not comfortable in their own relationship. They're not comfortable with it, so they're walking on eggshells.
So because go ahead.
Well, I kind of want to push back on arguing being a sign of difficult and not toxic. I think that having disagreements in a relationship is normal. But I feel like arguing is more contentious. It's more loaded. Arguing is
What's the difference in your mind between arguing and a disagreement?
Yeah, so or we could even call it a debate, for example. But I think a disagreement is like we're having a conversation to understand like why this is happening.
Okay.
It seems more positive to me. But when I hear like if somebody came to me and they're like, we're just always arguing so much, like I don't know that I would see that as a positive thing. It's like if you're constantly arguing, I think that can be toxic. But again, if you're having disagreements, I think that's...
You said constantly, which I said toxic. Toxic is repeated.
Okay.
So if it's a repeated argument all the time, there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just making sure.
I just find it interesting. Is something to think about, arguing versus having a disagreement. Well, here's what I think.
I'm such a words person.
Here's what I think you're saying. It's okay to disagree without becoming disagreeable.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's not personal.
That's why I think arguing feels like, well, now we're like, it feels combative, right?
Yeah.
Whereas disagreeing is like...
Okay, I see your distinction. I'm not sure, because I use the word arguing a lot. I'm not sure I've ever thought about it being combative, but I think for the purpose of coming up with working definitions, when we use a word, here's what we're actually saying. So yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to me. Okay, so...
Let's look at toxic a little bit further.
Okay.
Sometimes you deal with, like I said, it's patterns. The problem continues, and then there's possibly jealousy. There's a controlling aspect. There's possibly a lying aspect, and the explosive conflicts.
There's jealousy.
Yeah, what do you mean? There's possibly jealousy.
In what situation?
Why in a relationship?
A very insecure person is jealous when his wife or husband or wife goes away or goes out or something. There's some jealousy there.
Wait a minute. Okay, I get the part about jealousy. Let's say we're both here working and you got some huge promotion and all of a sudden you're CEO of the company, or your business takes off and you're making triple the income, which I welcome that, by the I hear what you're saying.
But you can't believe it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Well, and like I say, it wouldn't be like, I don't think it would be so much that. Now, there might be some feelings of intimidation or something if that person didn't make this amount of money or whatever.
You work with somebody of the opposite sex and you say to me, hey, we've got this meeting tomorrow morning, or we're both going to Chicago tomorrow. I mean, there are all kind of rules about how you should travel with somebody of the opposite sex. But let's say you're just meeting up there for a meeting. You mean I could be, as a toxic part of the relationship, jealous about you going off in that situation? Is that what you're saying?
So absolutely. You are stepping away from my little box, and you're stepping into something else. So yes, I began to feel jealous. I'm checking in. I'm wondering what you're doing. And so that's the toxic behavior part.
Yeah, because I was going to say, that's problematic.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
so
what
that's
I just said. That's
toxic behavior.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, it makes so much sense. But I guess I'm still stuck on the fact that how does that even happen?
And you leave the partner stuck into a state of fear. You know, she's
partner,
going.
The jealous partner or
no,
the other partner?
The other partner. He or she is in a state of fear, wondering, you know, maybe what he's thinking or whatever, because he's checking, she checking, whatever. Checking up on you constantly.
Okay.
So that becomes toxic, and like I say, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't know what you're going to meet when you return home.
Again, and I, because we talk to people that are dating, engaged, newly married. I don't know how to sound the warning any louder, right? If you're in a relationship and you're seeing this kind of behavior, what's the technical term you use? Oh, I got it. Run. Yeah, I think that's the therapist term, right?
Okay. Yes. Have a plan of exit.
Oh, okay. So
leave, go.
Yeah,
get out of there.
But just think about this: misunderstandings. Mm-hmm. You can grow. You can grow. Versus if you have a power play, it's going to escalate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so that becomes, most conflicts you can deal with, versus the repeated patterns, which are power play or control aspects.
You're saying that like when something is difficult, it should come to a resolution.
Right.
But if it's
and you
toxic,
grow from it.
Yeah, and you learn from it.
Uh-huh.
And you learn from it. But if it's toxic, then it's something that is continually repeating.
And it usually escalates. Yeah.
And the person's not growing, they're not getting any better. I guess that's another sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man, there's so many things you guys have said that are so counterintuitive to how I naturally think.
The jealousy thing, I'm trying to figure out how to like phrase this example, but I was listening to another podcast.
You should listen to a lot of podcasts.
Listen, I'm on social media. I like listening to podcasts. I listen to the news. I like to be informed on what I like to be informed about. So, and I find relationships very fascinating. I find people in general very fascinating. And I think the jealousy can come into play when you think about traditional roles. And if a couple has not had a conversation about what roles are going to be like in our specific relationship, and they're both just operating off of like maybe older roles that they saw in their family, society roles, then I do think that can open the door for jealousy to happen. So this other podcast I was listening to, they were interviewing they were interviewing a couple. And it was really more about finances, but it ended up kind of becoming a counseling session or a relationship coaching session. And one of the things in here was the man in the relationship, he was so adamant about like being the provider and being kind of like the primary breadwinner. I think people tie those two together. Like if you're going to be the provider, that also means you should be making all the money, which I don't know that those two things are like the same. But he had such a connection to being the primary breadwinner and to providing that his wife, her business had actually been bringing in more money at one point, but they had kind of like turned the lever down on her business so that
he make more money.
I mean, yeah, so that he could focus in on his business and she could be at home and take care of things, and that would allow him to build up his business. Now, again, I don't know that I would say like jealousy was maybe the intention or the reason for why he did that, but I do think that it could have been part of that, because it's like, well, this is supposed to me. It's almost jealousy in the sense of like, you're doing the role that I'm supposed to be doing. You're making more money when I'm supposed to be the one who's making the most money.
Which is a very insecure mindset.
Okay, now let me say a couple things. I do believe it is my primary responsibility to be the provider. I think that's how God set things up. I mean, that is my primary responsibility. Now, does that mean that I'm uncomfortable? There have been times when you've made more money than I've made.
Yeah.
There have been times when you were working and I didn't have a job. But I wanted to make sure I was providing, but I certainly wasn't trying to, not that you said this, but I certainly wasn't trying to sabotage what you're doing or asking you to pull back.
Especially when you think about the unit.
A lot of men are defined by that. So you have to be careful with it. But like you said, it's a traditional role mindset.
But even
and they'll have
we. So let's say
we don't have that. That's not the proper, I would say, the proper way to look at that.
In your therapist practice, if it takes off and you're making millions of dollars, well, I'm sorry, we're making millions of dollars.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not bothered by that.
Right.
Matter of fact, why aren't you making millions of dollars?
The crazy thing, what you're saying though, Dad, is it's also like it doesn't mean that you're not the provider, and it doesn't mean that you're not the leader of the family.
Right.
Like
yes.
And I think someone who is a leader in the family, like in that situation, it would be like, wow, my wife has like a whole process for this. She's making a whole bunch of money. This is great for the unit. Let me actually stop what I'm doing and let's focus and hone in on what she's doing. It doesn't make the man any less of a provider, and it doesn't make him any less of a leader. I think when you stifle that, I actually think that's the opposite of leading.
Yeah, I agree.
Because let's take like relationships and romance out of this, but if I'm working at a company and I'm a sales executive and I've got somebody under me, let's say it's all commission based, right? So I'm a sales exec, I'm bringing in $1 million a year as a sales exec, and then I hire somebody and they start bringing in 1.5. You probably get more commissions off of that, but it's like, that doesn't make me look bad. That makes me look good, because it's like, look who I hired.
Well, I've never thought about this in a relationship, but when I'm working with entrepreneurs and business owners, I say this all the time, you want to hire people smarter than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned that many years ago.
Now, I know what you're thinking, Jim, but that's so hard for me to do. I mean, so, hey, I haven't found that difficult. Jim, that's because you're not that smart. Hey, let's don't make it personal. But yeah, you want to hire people better than you. And certainly in a relationship, in a marriage, you don't want to feel threatened by the other person.
Mom, tell us some other signs or some other differences between things being toxic versus difficult.
Okay, so healthy conflict repair. We want that versus a silent punishment. And you've heard people say they gave me the silent treatment. So the difference is there. So difficult, even though after hurt feelings, healthy couples come away and they repair themselves. Like I said, they sit down, they talk about it, they apologize, they really do honest talk. And this is not something that they want to really have to address again. So they're trying to grow from what they had the conflict about. Now versus the toxic person. So this partner uses the silent treatment, and y'all heard that. So they withdraw their affection, their ongoing coldness.
Yeah.
They're trying to control the whole situation by not giving that person anything, that partner anything. So instead of repairing, they weaponize the distance by making their partner feel powerless and guilty.
It's also a form of control, too.
It is.
Yeah, because you want that person you're withdrawing your attention, withdrawing your voice, because you want that person to come to you and apologize or come to you and say that something went wrong.
Right. You once again, you're trying to get away from responsibility or just saying, I shouldn't have done this or I apologize. And so if that pattern continues, that's a toxic type of relationship.
You know, y'all might not know this about me because I don't think it ever happened with y'all. But growing up, I was a silent treatment giver when people offended me or I felt like people had wronged me. That's what.
Hey, you may not know this about me. I'm still a silent treatment giver when I feel like people have wronged me. Not to the toxic point, though, Teresa.
Well, I feel like, okay, and in my experience,
I think it's okay to quieten yourself if you're trying to gather your thoughts and everything, to give yourself time. Okay, I'm just saying to give yourself time.
I'm talking about withdrawing my presence, withdrawing my energy, withdrawing everything about me like you don't exist to me. That is how I was like younger when I was in high school, middle school. Like that was my reaction when, even in college, actually. I have a friend who will tell you a story. We're still friends today. We've grown a lot, but I just felt like she completely offended me, and I stopped talking. And I'm a talker, so
that's where I get it from. Now I see why I do it.
That doesn't make any sense.
Does it not?
No. Now I see why I do it.
Wow.
But the reason I think it's so, because I would almost liken the silent treatment a little bit to ghosting, in that they have like a similar, they make the other person feel a similar way. There's no resolution. They're confused. They think they did something wrong. And I think that given the silent treatment, I think, now that I'm mature, grown, I think
let's not go too far. You mean maturing? Maybe that's what you're trying to say. Okay.
I think that giving the silent treatment, I think that ghosting is one of the worst things that you can do to another human being.
I think it is too.
Oh my God.
It's horrible.
That's a whole separate show.
It is, but
listen, doesn't that have to do with how you feel about yourself? Okay, so a person disappears on me. Hey man, good riddance. Let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you.
Maybe
that's
people
horrible.
get to that. People rarely start at that point, though, Dad. You have to imagine this is like somebody that you've been talking to, and in the case we're talking about, this is somebody you're married to or you're dating.
Well, yeah,
you're engaged to.
We're talking about relationships.
This is a very close thing, and you just go silent on me?
Yeah. So
for 3 days?
What's your,
for 3 days?
No, 3. I could be dead. I mean, we've been 3 days.
No, I'm just saying this is what I'm talking about. This is the toxic part of this. The silent treatment is usually, I've got to get your attention. So it might go on 3 days.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to give in because.
We say, okay, we did a whole show, ghosting, breadcrumbing, and zombieing.
We did.
Yeah.
So let's make the distinction. Ghosting, you disappeared. You didn't come back 3 days later. You're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So when that happens, I don't understand why you feel like that's the worst thing you could do to somebody.
I say both. Silent
riddance.
But I'm talking more about the emotional impact of it, because where you're at, you kind of get there immediately. I don't think a lot of people get there immediately, but this also has to do with the way that people view dating. I think a lot of dating today it's almost like people move in very quickly.
They really do.
Yeah, it's like dating. You think that like, this is my person. I've chosen this person, so we're dating.
That's not what dating is.
We know that now, Dad. I'm just saying that I know that now.
Well, you're right. A lot of people will step into things too quickly because you haven't really observed a person. You haven't spent time with this person. So why would I jump into
Here's what you guys are saying,
why would you jump into being that close proximity to another person that you truly don't know?
Yeah.
Here's what you're saying, and I see this being a common mistake. While you're dating, you put up with everything. Then once you get married, you put up with nothing. So your tolerance level in dating, you get there too fast. So you mentioned I get there too fast. Like when somebody ghosts me, I do immediately jump to, hey, I don't go through the, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? I jump to immediately to, hey, it's on them. I'm glad they left.
And I see that now, but that's something that I only very recently came to understand. So what?
Really?
So what I'm getting at is you're talking about the way things should be, and I'm trying to share the reality of what people are going through. And it's not everybody, again, but I'm saying, like, I do think there are a lot of people where it's like, I mean, ghosting, if people felt the way that you feel about ghosting, it wouldn't be such a problem right now.
That's why I don't see why it's such a problem.
But everybody don't think that
Everybody
way.
doesn't think that way. Everybody doesn't know. I mean, you and mom have done, y'all been married for 40 years. Y'all have done hours and hours and hours of training and coaching and counseling. Like, most people don't have that experience to come to the understanding that you have right now. So that is why I say, from an emotional impact standpoint, ghosting, silent treatment, breadcrumbing, any one of those things, I think it's one of the worst things that you can do to another human being.
Yes,
I truly
absolutely.
believe that.
So let's just go back to repair brings a couple closer,
Yes.
but a silent punishment, silent treatment drives them apart and keeps them wounded. You know, their wound is still open, and all you just feed that wound, you know?
I understand.
And that person, and it leaves them stuck, hurt. And I hate that.
And that's when you need to go to counseling.
Absolutely.
Do you need to, okay, let's talk about if you're dating.
Well,
do you need to go to counseling, or do you need to go on down the road?
Yeah, that's fair. If you're dating, that's when you need to.
If you're dating, you can step away from that.
You guys said something earlier. Let's go back to this. I hear it's rough out there now. I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm not out there, but I hear that it's rough out there now. But this is the part I'm having trouble with. Hey, Jim, you don't understand how it is out here right now. So does that make you settle? Does that make you put up with stuff you ordinarily wouldn't? Let
me help you understand this a little bit better. A couple, you've been together. This person is feeding you what you desire, want. You're dating, okay. Yes. They mess up. But then they come back, and not necessarily do they apologize, but they might bring you a gift. They might take you to dinner. They might take you to dinner. They really try to make up for it.
But they never said I'm sorry.
Without saying I'm sorry.
And
you can't make up for without saying I'm sorry. That's the point I'm making.
No, you can. The person is desiring so much. They need it
as, they must be sorry if they're doing all these things.
Right, exactly. And sometimes they'll send flowers, they'll just lavish you with things, and then you forget about it. And
I don't think I would ever forget about myself.
But you're asking about why would people do this, because it is a subtleness about it, and it's a smoothness. This person is good.
So how can we help coach people not to fall for that?
Well, is
that a personal thing? Is that, hey, Jim, that's just how they're built. That's just how I'm built. There's nothing else anybody can help them with?
How do we coach people not to fall for that? I mean, we do it by what we're doing right now, which is going through the signs of what toxic versus difficult look like.
Right.
And you mentioned something earlier, Dad, about things being, dating being hard out here. And you're like, does that make you settle? Does that make this? I think that it's less about people feeling like they have to settle. I think for some people, yes, it does make them settle. It does make them think this is the best I'm going to get, so I might as well deal with this person as they are. But I do think for other people, it's just exhausting. It's exhausting when you...
I've heard that before, because they'll say, I just don't want to start over.
Yeah.
I've been with this guy for a while, and I just don't want to start over.
The wrong road, it's never the wrong time to turn around.
Well, that's easier said than done in a relationship. It truly is in today's time.
Things are so intertwined. But I'll give it to you, Dad. This goes back to, we're looking at this the wrong way. And culturally, as a society, we are all looking at it the wrong way. It's being portrayed in the wrong way. Okay. Even the way that you hear people, the old ball and chain, like this and that, or whatever. Like, so we are inundated with relationship advice or tips, etc., that are all wrong. So even though what you're saying is true, that doesn't mean that that's people's reality. And it doesn't mean that that's how people are acting.
All right. So,
and I have one last thing I'll say about this, because this is a lesson, and it seems so obvious to me, but this is a lesson that I've recently learned. People may want to get to where you all are talking about. Mm-hmm. They may have these new goals, new boundaries, new mindset, mm-hmm. but it takes people time for their habits to catch up.
I agree. 100%. 100%.
So they're still making that same mistake until it clicks.
All right. So let's go back over or touch back on the warning signs.
Okay. So if we're going to summarize the differences between what is toxic and what is difficult, I would say that when something is difficult, it resolves itself. But if it's toxic, it's going to repeat itself. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see a pattern. Number two, if something is difficult, it's a misunderstanding. Maybe that wasn't their intention. It's not rooted in control. If something is toxic, there's an element of control. There's a desire for power there. And that intention, that as the root of the issue, is toxic. Mm-hmm. So that's number two. Mm-hmm. The third thing would be when there is conflict, it is resolved in a healthy way. Versus what's toxic, which is this silent treatment / silent punishment / ghosting. Mm-hmm. We'll keep that in there for people dating, because I do think that's toxic to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are the three differences between what's difficult, what's toxic. Okay. And Mom, you also wanted to go over some warning signs to watch out for.
To watch out for difficult versus the toxic relationship. So going back, it's for this one, it's control disguised as protection. And so the difficult partner may worry about genuinely care about what's going on. So like you might say, when you get to, if I'm driving to back home or something, when you get there, check in with me, just honestly caring. Mm-hmm. The other person, the toxic person, might say, I'm just trying to protect you, but limits your freedom to go and do different things. You don't have the independence. They're uncomfortable with you doing this or that.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I see what you're saying. I think that's a big ask. I mean, how do you expect me to know I'm dating? How do you expect me to know I'm about to take a 3-hour drive back to college, back to school, back to wherever? Hey, when you get home, make sure you give me a call. Okay, that can seem like protection, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we're asking a lot for a person to be able to discern, we talked about that earlier, between that being control, what's the other term?
Just care.
Concern versus control.
Yeah.
But to the point about discernment, it's about time, right? And it's about seeing people in different situations, in different scenarios.
Yeah. So I think maybe the way that would look is, I ask you to call me when you get home. You don't call me. Do I blow up?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then do I try to hide that under? The reason I kicked out a hole in the walls because of my concern for you,
right?
Versus it really being my concern for my inability to control you,
right?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's a really great example.
Absolutely.
So then, this brings back another thing that I always say. My dad, he's got his phrases. I've got mine. So I'm going to share one. I'm going to share one with you. A lot of people like to say that actions speak louder than words. Well, I'd like to go a step further and say that reactions speak louder.
I've never heard you say that.
I've said that.
You say you always say it. I've never heard you say that before.
Well, to be fair, we haven't lived together in quite 7, 8 years or so. So I have said that.
Okay.
I've always felt like reactions.
You always say it. Is it like you said it once in your life? I'm just, mean what you say. This is what we're talking about right here. Don't just be making words up.
First of all, if a tree falls in the forest and you're not there to hear it, does it make a sound? The point I'm getting, just because you didn't hear me say it doesn't mean I'm not always saying it.
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
So I would encourage you all to look at people's reactions and to what my mother is saying, which I finally understand why you say this, Mom, where it's like you need to see people in different situations, different scenarios. All your dates don't need to be, let's just go out to dinner or let's go to the park. Your dates need to be, let's go to a game. Let's go to church. Let's go I don't know, have a picnic outside in the park or something. Your dates should be different when you're getting to know someone, so you can see how they're acting in different settings.
Absolutely.
And then we could go on and on and on about what do you learn. So let's say you are at dinner and somebody is really rude to servers. Who would do that?
I have no clue. I mean, just even if you're not a good person, let's just say on the very fact that like they could spit in your food.
Well, there's no such thing as good people. That's a whole nother conversation. None of us are good people. Let's make that.
What I'm getting,
I hear that a lot, but
Yeah, I do hear that sometimes.
but I'm saying like even
we're
if
all
you're
evil, sinful people on the way to
Pathetic
hell
Yes.
without the gift of Jesus. So we're not good people.
I know that, but you
that's-
understand what I'm saying.
I see what you're
thank
saying.
You. Continue. You were going to say something on that.
I forgot I was going to say when you went down the whole trail. You went.
Well, yeah, we
Being
kind of.
rude to the server. Why would you do that?
Thank you. That's what I was saying.
I'll always get you back on
Yeah.
track.
So that tells you stuff. I mean, how do they treat others?
Right.
Let me say a different way of what you said. Are they basically kind to people?
Yeah.
Even idiot bad people can learn to be kind to people.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be using mean words here. Hey, it is what it is. I mean,
But yeah, it doesn't hurt to be kind, and especially if you want to be with me.
Yeah.
Kind, concerned, caring.
Another side of that. So, what about this person? Is this toxic behavior?
Let me see.
So you're not being rude to the person. You and I are at the dinner, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm all about getting my order right. Hey, the steak's not cooked like I wanted it. This is not what I ordered. But what does it tell me if everywhere we go it's never right for you? I hate that.
You do?
Does that tell? Yeah. So if you and I are dating,
It does say a few things.
Every time we go to dinner, let's say you're very kind, but you can.
To be
Is
fair,
that
Dad,
toxic behavior?
I feel like that's kind of you a little bit, though. Now, it's not every time. It's not every time we go to dinner, but I have seen, y'all, as I have grown up.
Yes, that's
I have seen my dad get gift cards, gift certificates to all these restaurants, this and that. And I don't know, maybe you just speak up more than other people would, but...
Okay.
But to your exact question, because when you first started out, I thought about you.
Let me distinguish between legitimate. Okay, I ordered the salmon and you brought me halibut. I'm not going to eat it.
Well, that makes sense.
That
makes sense. That's different.
Legitimate.
I had to hear your whole question.
Yeah,
but that was my initial thought when I heard half of the question. Now, to your whole question, I do think it could say something if everywhere we go, like, are you just like picking places that you don't actually want to eat at? And then that could say something. I think how you find out if that means something is you ask about it and then you see how they react.
Okay.
See, we go back to the reactions speak louder than action. Yeah.
One thing that you say you always say.
Okay, so let's get back to the warning signs. Here's a few more. When there's isolation, gaslighting, and manipulation.
I don't know what some of those mean.
Okay.
There's isolation, gaslighting, and manipulation. Okay.
You know what isolating and manipulation mean? Isolating as in like, if you're, I guess would this be the case maybe if you're married with somebody or even dating?
You're just cutting yourself off from people. So
isolating then is different from you're not being cut off. You're choosing to cut yourself off.
You're cutting yourself off, and also you try to cut the other person off from their family or friends.
Oh, in that sense,
that's the toxic.
Okay.
That's the
wow.
toxic.
All right.
You know how some people. I hear people. They'll say, I don't have very many friends because we are always together, and I'm thinking, well, that's that might be a little
troubling.
Yeah, a little troubling. It's okay to have time together, but I always encourage couples, you need to have some individual time, couples time, and then family time or friend time, like guy time, girl time. I think all of that is important
if that's something you desire too. Right. I say that I think it's only isolating if that person desires to have friends outside of their relationship and they don't. But if it's not something that you desire, if you and your
Right, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, then I
if
think
you
it's
don't
totally
want
fine.
that. But a person who's toxic tries to keep you to themselves,
Yeah.
and isolate you,
So
so
they
they
would
can
discourage you
manipulate.
from, hey, your sister's birthday party,
Right.
your
Yeah.
niece's
Right. Why are you always
graduation.
leaving? Yeah. Well, you always got to go. That kind of mindset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
emotional manipulation.
Yes, it
That
is.
goes to manipulation.
And then
twisting words.
Yeah.
Guilt
Gaslighting. Gaslighting.
Oh, well, I jumped to manipulation because of what you
Oh,
said. The twisting
okay.
words, the guilt tripping,
Okay.
the emotional blackmail to get your way. And then the last one would be gaslighting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Making.
what is that? Explain that.
So that's making you question your memory.
This happens quite
you
a bit.
did you say
is that
did you actually
Gaslight?
I don't remember
yeah.
you saying that.
Well-
did you say that?
This wasn't an example, but like,
This never happened.
yeah, when it comes to gaslighting, let's say that you have wronged someone, and when that person comes to you, instead of owning up to what you've done, you act like it never happened, and
Right.
you go so far to act like it never happened. You're like, and you start saying things like, "Oh, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about?
Right,
I
your
think you're
perception's wrong."
You're misremembering
Yeah,
this."
you know, and
It's almost like,
questioning your sanity.
yeah,
really,
yeah,
is what they're
exactly.
doing.
So
Questioning
they
your
kind of
sanity.
go, a little philosophy term, it gets a little ad hominem, which is when you attack the person as opposed to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've asked you not to use multisyllable words that ad hominem. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
that's not the first time you've
That is
ever
the
heard
first time
that.
I've ever heard that.
I feel like I talked about this when I was in college with you. It's like one of the main arguments that people. So another term would be not a non sequitur, and ad hominem can sometimes be a result of
Hey, you
that.
know what? This
Okay.
I think this is a
I
good
mean,
time.
define
I
them.
think this is a good time to mention Elizabeth is a undergrad philosophy major at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which we haven't mentioned. Maybe
Yeah,
the
we should
show's almost
mention it.
over.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
people go like, why are they all that North Carolina stuff on? Are they Bill Belichick fans? I mean, is it all about Michael Jordan? So yeah, this is Elizabeth's alma mater. You'll remember a few episodes back, we were here with Colorado gear on. And
Hey, we don't have to talk about Colorado today. This is North Carolina. We're talking
this is
about
your
Tar
day.
Heels
This
today.
is your day. This is your day.
Okay.
So, okay, keep going.
Well, no, I was just gonna say
We're
like
talking about ad hominem.
at that
That's what I was gonna say.
I learned in philosophy they teach you how to think and they teach you about logic, and so
Do they?
that's what
That's
they
what
tell
philosophy
you. They teach you.
is.
But that, it's not teaching you what to think; it's teaching
Okay,
you how to
how to
think.
think,
But
yeah.
that's important because that teaches you how to question, like understanding logic and understanding how things. Like, I guess not what should make sense, but how an argument flows. That is important because it allows you to understand when you are being gaslit or when you're being manipulated. And so typically a non sequitur, that just means that like an argument, it's not following a pattern. So if we're talking about balloons
Understand.
and all of a sudden you start talking about trees,
Understand.
that's technically a non sequitur. It doesn't follow what we're
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
Right.
But a lot of times, like as a result of the argument not following, it also, I think where the gaslighting comes in is when it doesn't follow and then it becomes an ad hominem thing where you start attacking that person. So the person comes in and they're talking to you about their feelings and what
Right.
happened. So you non sequitur by making it about your feelings, right? Now you've changed the subject essentially. And then you ad hominem by going back and saying, well, you're misremembering, you're crazy, you don't understand that.
Right.
And so again, like I can pick up on those things or I see those things because of my undergraduate degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
This right here is one of my prouder moments. To see the way you explained that and you broke that down. I'm not sure I've ever been prouder than what you just did.
Okay, let's get going.
Thank you.
And I thought you wasted the 4 years there. You really wasted the 4 years.
I learned a lot of how to think.
Okay.
Well,
But I
that's
still make mistakes, to be very fair.
We all do.
And I often balance between like my logical side, or not balance, I struggle, I would say, with like kind of leaning into my more logical side versus my more emotional side. And I would say like as I've gotten older, I'm getting like more of a good balance between the two. But I do think, even though I understood those things and I could on a piece of paper tell you, oh, well, this doesn't follow, I don't know that I immediately did those things in my personal life. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue with the warnings.
Okay, what
We
else
got
you
more
got?
warnings?
Yes, we do. The chronic criticism, withdrawal.
What are the good signs? Look.
Chronic criticism. Okay, that's a telltale sound.
And walking on eggshells.
Well, wait a minute. That would be on you if you're walking on eggshells around me. Right? So you're telling the people if you're tiptoeing around because you don't want to set this person off.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's it. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what a lot of couples will do. They're in a sense of a state of fear all the time, and I'm thinking you don't want to live in that,
Yeah.
So come away
When
from
you're
that.
talking to people like that in therapy, what do they tell you why they're doing that?
Well, they don't want to go back over the same thing, or they start the same argument, or they're just trying to keep peace. That's what they're looking for, and not the chaos. So they walk on eggshells. They try to be considerate of everything that person wants to their detriment, mostly.
I was going to say, that's
Usually to their detriment.
Other warning signs. What else you got?
Well, that's
I think that's the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the last warning sign.
So this is. I want to go next to when is it time to get help?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this the plug where they call you as a therapist?
Yeah.
No.
Are you taking on more clients right
no,
now?
Mom.
No.
We can get you a therapy with someone else.
We've said on the show before, although the conversations we have can be therapeutic, this is not meant to be a substitute for therapy.
For therapy.
So this is the part where we're going to encourage people to seek professional help.
Yes.
That's actually the first resource. That's the first place you go to get help.
Why did I get the notes?
You did get the notes. He just didn't look at
Why
them.
did I look at the I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I guess I should have looked at it.
So a licensed therapist, it can help you and provide a safe place for you to help you and direct you and show you your own self, for one, which you sometimes can't see.
Yeah.
And then also give you tools to do better for yourself, even if you're staying in this situation.
Okay, so get professional help.
Yeah,
Now,
get
question
professional
with
help.
that. So if you're in a relationship, this is a question. So if you're dating someone, I have my own answer to this, but I want to ask y'all.
Okay.
If you're dating someone and you feel like there's some issues going on, would you go to therapy?
Well, some people do. I hear that all the time. We're trying to go to therapy to help it out. Now, I would say I wouldn't, because if I see if the red flags or the toxic behavior is there, I don't necessarily want to deal with that.
If I'm dating someone, to answer your question, here's my answer. It would depend on where I am in the relationship. So we've set our wedding date and we're about to get married. Everybody should go through premarital therapy, coaching, counseling, whatever word you want to substitute in there. But if I'm early on in the relationship, what is my thinking? Oh, I think this may be the one. I think if early on in the relationship we need to go to therapy, that in and of itself may be telling me everything I need to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with
agree.
that.
I totally agree with that. I do.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about y'all
that's
who've been
not-
dating a month. Talking about,
Yeah,
they
but
still
that's
get therapy.
Yeah, but
Or
that's
even
not.
I would say even 6 months, even a year. Again, unless you find this out in premarital therapy.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Because that's like almost speaking to hoping somebody's going to change.
They're
right?
trying to make it work.
They're trying to make it work. And why? And what? I'm back to that.
Which I'm not against trying to make it work, but
why
I have
do you
learned
have to
that
try so hard when you're dating?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's behavior reserved for marriage. Let me try to make it work in marriage.
Do you remember the comment on social a couple of weeks ago where
What?
the young lady said to you, "Your parents did my premarital"?
A couple weeks ago, I posted on my social accounts my parents' thoughts on my divorce and what they think went wrong with my marriage. And there were a lot of different comments, but one in particular that my dad is talking about is someone who my parents actually did their premarital. So her comment was, your parents were my premarital counselors. I ended up getting a divorce 16 years later. But in therapy, we hid so much for fear that they would say we weren't ready. All the years were miserable, and I wish every day we had been honest. What they're saying is true. She said, also, I didn't want to have to cancel my wedding and thought it was embarrassing to my family and the church, just focused on all the wrong things and suffered for it.
Hey, well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said. And it's so important to be, to be upfront and tell the truth.
So now this couple they were in premarital. So they weren't like dating 3 months and start having problems and went to therapy.
Right. This was
they're
premarital.
about to get married, and our church in Mississippi, premarital was a requirement. We taught that class. We actually wrote a book. We used our book for premarital counseling, coaching is what we call it. So this young lady is saying, and I don't remember if I'm thinking about them specifically, but I remember thinking about several couples as we're going through this. This couple shouldn't be getting married. And you told me not to say that.
Yes, our goal is not to tell you whether you should get married or not. Our goal is to show you the problems. And then you take it from there. I'm not going to ever say you should or shouldn't get married.
To like kind of summarize this thing, I think if you're dating, let's say you're dating. I want like not engaged, you're just dating this person, no matter how long it's been, and you feel like you need to go to therapy. I think that is a sign that maybe this relationship is not the one. Maybe this is not the person for you, no matter how long y'all have been dating. If you are engaged, you should do premarital counseling to help you make sure that this is the right relationship, this is the right person. And then I think if you are married already, then you should definitely go to counseling as a couple and maybe even individually.
Right. So we're going back to the warnings. We already said, not to the warnings. We're going to what to do, how to get help.
Yes.
So the therapy was one, and then learning to set boundaries and consequences in dealing with each other.
Well, that sounds like some of the things we talked about. Not doing boundaries and consequences.
No, the boundaries sounds good.
Okay, I got the boundaries. Hey, but Teresa, I'm telling you right now, if you do this is what's going to happen.
Well, boundaries would be the difficult with someone who is growing and want things to work, but the consequences can be the negative side of that.
It says, okay, I'm just looking at your notes, Mama. This says boundaries must be paired with consequences. A toxic partner may push back, but boundaries communicate that your dignity, safety, and well-being are non-negotiable. Okay, so this is saying, I think what this is saying is if you're already in a toxic relationship, you need to...
Well, that's why you're going to therapy. Yeah, you're in this.
Yes. Well, you don't have to be in a toxic relationship.
No, not necessarily.
But we're talking about everything, the help that we are offering is if you are already in a toxic relationship. First thing, therapy. Second thing, you're saying boundaries and consequences. And you're saying that needs to happen in a toxic relationship because why? Why do you need the consequences?
Because a person won't take you serious.
I have to agree with this because I initially I didn't
need you to agree with her. For her to be telling the truth.
But initially I was kind of like, I don't think that makes sense. Having consequences bound. Like, I don't know if that makes sense in a relationship because it does sound a little bit toxic to your point. But in my, I called up my ex-husband the other week and I wanted to ask him, like, what do you think went wrong with our marriage? Were there any red flags about me, this and that? What do you think I did wrong? Because I'm looking to grow. That's just who I am. And one thing that he told me was when I started talking about the need for a separation, because there were a lot of different reasons that I had asked for that. But one of the reasons was I felt like he was not listening. He was not getting the help that he needed. And there was nothing that I could say. So I was like, well, maybe the separation will give us both some time to think and it will kind of like jolt him, like give him a dose of reality. I don't know. He said to me that he did not think I was serious. He did not think I was serious. He thought that like, oh, well, she asked for the separation, but hey, like we're still laughing and talking. Hey, I don't have to be rude to you just because I asked for a separation. We don't have to be mean to each other. But he did not believe me. I have another friend, family friend, who also went through a divorce and very similar situation to mine. And same thing, her husband at the time, she brought up separation, he did not believe she truly was going to move forward with the separation. So I can see how and again, these weren't necessarily toxic situations, but I can see how when things are not going well, having the consequences with the boundaries can be important because it shows that you're serious and it shows that there needs to be a behavior change or there's going to be a situation change. Yeah, or a consequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I agree.
Okay.
right.
I think
That's the second one. The third thing, if you need help,
it's creating an exit plan.
if you are
In a toxic relationship,
Yeah.
is to have, and you have to do it probably strategically.
Yeah.
So let your therapist help you do that. You can give dates and times, or you could say, letting someone
Do you share
know.
the exit plan with the other partner? Or
Absolutely
No,
not.
in this case,
Not in
no.
this case.
Well,
If it's
this is
toxic.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a mom's.
Yeah.
I think this is like when things are physically abusive,
Right. So
very heavily emotionally abusive.
Right.
It's not safe for you to share. your
right.
exit
So
plan.
so your therapist can somehow, document some things. You might want to tell a friend that can be trusted, somebody in your church, or maybe it's whoever you can trust. Set aside proper money, proper documents that you want to maybe take with you. Identify a safe place to go if things escalate. Always find a way out, and then knowing the numbers to local hotlines and shelters.
Yeah.
Those are so important if there's abuse present. So go and go get help. Don't just stay there and get hurt.
We're going to put some general resources so that way, no matter where you are, you can access resources. We're going to put that in the show notes.
So, and also a lot of times a person with this toxic mindset, they won't let you leave. That's why
Yeah.
you have to be strategic in knowing when to leave and how to leave, and let someone know that you're headed out.
Let someone who's not the person
Right.
that you're leaving know that you're headed out.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been helpful, or I think it's been helpful. I always learn a lot on our shows. Hopefully you do as well. If you do, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Please like the show, share the show, and subscribe to the show. The YouTube algorithm is kind of funny. It's like the rich get richer, right? The more you like it, the more YouTube promotes it to others. The more subscribers we have, the more people that YouTube shows the show to. So you can literally help our message get out by liking, subscribing, and sharing. We appreciate you doing that. Let's wrap up with this. One of the things we've said consistently on all of our shows is that, hey, marriage is hard, but it's so worth it. Now, here's a little, what do you call it?
Caveat?
No, when you do something to make something that's hard.
Oh my gosh, I know what you're trying to say.
Here's
it's like euphemism.
A cheat code. No,
Oh, okay, no, what do you-
Here's like a way to make something that's inherently hard, not as hard as it is by its very nature, and that has to do with your personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Right.
When you put people together like Teresa and I in close proximity, it's 2 people, trying to make a single unit because the 2 become one, right? Trying to make that work. And for us, without us having a personal relationship with Jesus, is just not possible. And we want to see you have that same thing. Hey, Jim, I thought this was all about relationships. It is, and this is what I'm talking about. The most important relationship you can have is that relationship with Christ.
Yes.
Perhaps we can put in the show notes for people who don't know, yeah, Jim, I don't even know how that works. Look in the show notes, and we're going to outline a plan of how you go from outside the circle to inside the circle. That's what we're going to do. Hey, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. No.
Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your prayers. We are praying for you, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye.
Bye.